Onto the sewing. When you're sewing, make a 1-inch seam allowance, and as you're sewing, go slowly and take your time. It's very easy that the fabric can bunch together and get tucked under the sewing line. So therefore, just make sure you pull out the gatherings, making sure that it's sticking out and it's even. Once the hood is sewn in and you iron it out nicely, you are pretty much complete. Now, for the closure that holds the cape together, I prefer to use a brooch or a decorative pin. You could also use a ribbon and sew it on if you like. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. I will list all that information on the bottom of this video. Also, thumbs up if you like. If you don't, this evil witch will cast a spell on you and make you bitter for the rest of your life. Thank you guys so much again, and I will talk to you next time. Ciao!